That is some fucking like that is some. I'm working on a project, greasy hair, fucking shit going on right there.
What
Sorry, I came in hot out of the gate with the curse words right out of the gate today. I apologize.
what
My mom watches the podcast now. I gotta like start toning it back, I think.
how was your Thanksgiving?
It was awesome, man. We had well, I worked all day, um, as I do, trying to get these videos done, man. There's a lot goes into it that people don't realize that they never should realize, but you know. Uh, it was good, man. I worked all day. And then Kelly worked in the barn, so that's why we were here, not with my family. Her family came down though. Her family came down to her mom and her stepdad and our niece Skylar came down, and we had
Nice.
Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving here, so with them, so that was really nice. And we got to go out and eat the night before. Uh, Went out to and hung out with them where they were staying, and yeah, and then I saw, and my family always comes. My family always does Thanksgiving at my sister's house up in Sumter, South Carolina, and then they come back the next day and decorate my mom's house for Christmas. So they came down and did that. So I saw everybody, all three of my sisters and their kids, and one of my brothers-in-law I saw last night. I think it was last night. It was last night. Yeah. So
Awesome.
I saw Will last night. I tried to get him to stop by, but he I think he's too busy. I was going to get him to stop
Yeah,
by,
he's
like
I
a guest
saw
appearance.
I think Lauren posted a picture of him with a mustache. And I
Oh
obviously
yeah.
comment like I did. I go, come on, dude. Just
I mean, it's pretty like see, it's this thing, man. It's like everything has a starting point, and the mustache is way better than it was when he started it. I mean, he started it, I was a little concerned, but it looks pretty good on him, man. I have to say,
I wish I did that when I was his age. I mean, I never
Yeah,
I actually really couldn't grow facial hair. Just because where I was at, but like I'm kind of jealous of
yeah,
I don't know, that trend is so weird. It seems like growing up when I was a kid, like obviously people with beards and like Tom Selleck mustaches, but I
yeah.
don't know what the change was where it got to the point where it's like now it's just like culturally this crazy twists and turns and
The whole beard
different
and
shit
mustache
fades.
culture. Yeah.
Yes.
My dad had a mustache growing up. Like that's because well, when you were like that's what old people did. Old people had mustaches and beards, you
Like
know.
the cream and like the
Yeah, and now it's like certain people have made it culturally acceptable to have mustaches and beards at a young age. So, and now, I mean, dude, there was actually I remember there were a couple of kids in high school that had beards, and I remember that, and that was like a thing. It was like, holy crap, man, so and so's got a beard, you know. Like my high school girlfriend's brother. I want to say, if I remember correctly, people called him like Mountain Man or something because he grew a beard. He's a very unique individual, man. He's a really cool dude. He was I think he was my age. He was in my class. But he was just yeah. Just remember, he's a nice person, a really unique individual. But he grew a beard early, and everybody was freaking out about that.
I was
So
last week or the week before I was at the CMAs with a client and the rehearsals the 2 days
mm,
before we're in the hallway Bridgestone, which we're all familiar with,
yep.
and I'm looking down the hallway like I'm in a suit jacket and how I look now, but like I'm looking down and so a local person, local producer, vet or whatever, production person walks by and goes, "Hey, excuse me," but they say it in a way where it's like they're implying I don't speak English, and so they're trying to like get the words out to me.
Parlez-vous
Yeah.
espagnol?
And so I'm just letting them just fucking tread in water right now.
Yeah.
And like, hey, do you happen? I go, you could ask. I speak English. She goes, okay, because like you look super serious, and the way you're looking down the hallway, you look like you didn't want to be bothered or talked to, and you look like you're Serbian. And I go, I don't know if that's a. Okay, I'm okay with that,
You look
but like
Serbian.
I'm just looking down. I'm not. I'm not. I don't want to be bothered, but I also don't want to bother you people working and stuff. And I'm not here to
Yeah.
and she was like, how do I get around here on this venue or whatever? It was super easy, but I just stood back and laughed. And I go, that's such a weird, how like facial hair. The assumption is if you have a beard with a shaved head, you are some sort of non-American, like, just like, what?
John is ethnic now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm Serbian now.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, I guess well, yeah, I'd take Serbian. I mean, that's a weird part of the world, right? I mean,
Very.
like ethnically and culturally weird, like as far as like the separation, when Czechoslovakia fell apart, right? And it's just odd to me, like things we don't think about in
How
you know,
massive that area is in the world too.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
just uncharted territory.
Yeah, man. There's something that happens to your brain. I don't know if this happens to you or not, but like when we're touring and we cross over into from Western Europe to Eastern Europe, like wherever that line is like that line. I would think that line would be like Slovakia, right? You cross that sort of like you cross into Hungary and
Yeah,
Czech
Poland,
Republic and
Hungary, Czech, like
yeah,
Lithuania, that
yeah.
right there.
Like you cross into that, it's like there's a palpable sense of Wild West.
Yeah, and it's like
Mm.
obviously we're all for it no matter where we are, even in the UK, right? But when you hit
Right.
that part, like you feel like you're in a different like galaxy.
Yeah, it's it's kind of the same. It's a different feeling, but it's kind of the same feeling you get when you go to Asia or something, like when you land
Okay.
in the East, right?
Yep.
But I mean but it's different. It's like you feel like like you could be a part of of an action adventure movie at any time. Especially
No, for sure.
Russia, man. Like Russia felt like that too. I mean, for some reason, man, Russia feels weirder than like Slovakia to me. Like Russia feels like there's some shit's gonna go down here,
And
possibly.
I think that I blame part of the
And it's probably
media and
not.
like
There's probably
global,
nothing.
right? Like the
Yeah.
politics of like we're told like Russia's bad, 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 bad. Now I'm not like picking sides here, but like the
Well, people
perception
do
is the
disappear.
people, yeah,
People
for
do
sure.
people do disappear.
But the people there are bad people. So it's like,
Mm-mm.
but you go there, but you always feel like you're being watched, which you are, and you
Yeah.
always feel like something is like to your point, like you've watched every movie, TV show, like any moment there could be something happening near the Kremlin.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's like something's gonna go down today.
Yeah.
Like, but again, it's like, well, shouldn't I feel that way in Warsaw or in, you know, and where were we in Hungary? We were in Hungary with Iron Maiden like
Yeah,
while the
Budapest.
war was going on.
Budapest.
Like yeah, but yeah, right. But like the war was going on like right nearby,
Yes.
technically, right?
Right, right.
Um, but I didn't feel as like that didn't bother nothing bothers me. That didn't make me feel as like uneasy as walking around Moscow by myself, which I've done.
Yeah.
It's like, man, someone could snatch me right now and no one would know.
Yeah, and/or
It's just
maybe
it's
care. Right.
done. Yeah, be finished. Be over with.
Because
And that's absolutely not what's going on. Like it's just the feeling of
right.
that. I think it's just sort of ingrained. Now, again, people do disappear around that part of the world a good bit. Do you hear about the ballet dancer? Like this guy who's like the world
Yes.
renowned like uh
Like
top tier male
Swan Lake level, like just
ballerine,
massive. Yeah.
not ballerina, we call balletist. What is a male ballet person called? Uh, anyway, guy who does ballet,
A
uh,
ballast.
a ballast. There you go. Top tier ballast. And I mean, you're talking like athlete. I mean, like elite athlete. And he lost his balance and fell off of a balcony and died. Like,
It happens a
now,
lot
unless he
there.
was doing something stupid, unless he was trying to balance on it or something, but like his girlfriend was there. Like it's very suspicious. That makes you wonder. Like, was he like a psyop and he did something wrong and got thrown off of a balcony? Because like someone like that sort of elite shape. Unless, I mean, who knows? Could have been on drugs. Could have been,
It
could
does
have could
seem, yeah, there's a
could
lot
have
of
done
balcony.
DMT and thought he could
Yeah,
fly. But
for sure. Like he thought he was Peter Pan.
mhm.
The
Yeah,
well,
it
Russia,
was
this
it was the tights.
they're too tight. Russia actually they raided a bunch of like nightclubs, I think this past week, and now the media is like Russia is like not I don't know I don't want to say they're anti-homosexual. They have like these laws, right? That are very like you can't do whatever it is. I don't want to talk on it, but like so it came out they raided a bunch of these gay clubs and all the people on X and social media were like, oh, they're going after these people and all this stuff. Well, it turns out they had the sting on the club owner who was a pedophile. They're
Hmm.
dealing drugs, illegal prostitute. Like, so all this other stuff comes out of this, and I just thought it was fascinating. Like it's always the first like Russia is anti-gay, whether they are or not. But like the
Well, the Russian Orthodox Church
Correct.
is huge, right?
Correct.
That's like it's something it's something mind blowing like the percentage of Russians who are Russian Orthodox,
Right.
right?
Like, so I guess what caught me off guard, that stuff happens all across the world. It's like, when it comes to news, we're so aware of that happening in different parts of the world every time there's a shooting or whatever. Do you think these other countries like Russia, India, South Brazil, they're aware of like when we have a Pulse nightclub shooting or when we
Oh
have
yeah,
a
man.
school shooting?
Like
It's like, how big is that around for other
well,
people?
I think especially in Russia, that's a again, man. Like I've never early in my life, like because I'm older, I grew up thinking Russia was like an enemy, right? It was
Yeah.
it was USSR. It wasn't Russia.
Red Dawn.
It was
They
yeah
told you they were bad.
yeah. I mean, but then I was and I lived in such a great time. Like my trajectory as a youth was in such an interesting time in history, just for music, for like I mean I was born in 74, so I was 10 years old in 84. So like that's
Oh
about the
yeah,
time I start
prime.
discovering, well, a little before that I start discovering music, and then I'm in high school when Nirvana comes out and Soundgarden. But I was when the Berlin Wall came down, I was a freshman in high school, right? So when communism fell or whatever they like to say. Uh but but since then, like my adult life, I've grown up with, Russia is like an ally. It's not an ally necessarily, but not something evil and dark or whatever.
Right.
Um, but there is that th they've never been an ally, I guess is my point. But I never grew up thinking they were like an enemy or something. But it's in their best interest to like I mean, look, every country psyops their population. It's just what happens. It's about control.
Oh, for
You
sure.
can look at that however you want. Like I'm not saying that like it's always nefarious either. It's you want to instill this pride in your country and who you are, and that's the interesting thing about being an American now is that there's such an anti that. Which is
Yep.
also an interesting psyop of your country's not great, your country's racist, your country, it's like
Well, yeah, it's the
the,
exact
the,
opposite. If
yeah,
you
the way
love your
that
country, you are a misogynistic,
right. Uh,
racist.
but we're the only country in the world that's like that. Like the
It's
only
weird.
one. Well,
It's weird.
UK is like that as well. But we're the only country in the world that's, but the United States and UK are the only countries in the world and that makes you wonder like who's pushing those buttons. But anyway, metaphorically, of course. Um, but it would be in their best interest, especially a country like Russia, to blast anytime we have something socially go wrong over here, to blast it all over the place, to let their populace know, like, hey, America sucks.
Yeah, they got their
You know,
issues too. Right.
yeah, yeah. Well, not even two. Like they've just got their issues, and in Russia, there's a lot of national pride in Russia, and I don't, God, man, what's the term? A nationalist is like considered like a bad thing, like because the Nazis were nationalist, everyone who's a nationalist is a problem. That's not the case. Like I think being a nationalist, being
Pro your
have
country.
pro your country is not a bad thing. Um, the Russians have a very nationalistic identity, and so uh, they're very proud, man. Like and ethnicities aside in Russia, like everyone who's there is proud of Russia. Um, and so yeah, man, of course they blast that stuff out everywhere, you know. Um, uh, I mean Brazil too. Like I imagine they probably show, the folly of the West, or the West, the folly of the United States, quite often probably
Right.
on
Because it's
their
like
media.
you watch like the last couple of months and years down there, there've been heavy protests of the government, right? We've talked about this stuff, but
Hmm.
it's like you look at that, I'm looking at that, go, man, there's a ton of people, but then you realize that's happening in Chicago, Detroit, Milwaukee. It's happening in all of our cities too. So it's like we're so numb to it. So now when I see that over there, I'm like, man, everyone's either upset or angry, whether it's rightfully angry or not, or whatever it is. It's just like everyone's going through it right now in the world.
Yeah, I mean it's a look, I think everybody can feel and I sometimes I wonder how again, man, I question everything. I even question my own thoughts and my own beliefs about certain things, and it's like, you know, how much of what I'm feeling is nefarious, like how much I'm feeling of it feels like there's this force that's pressing down on humanity or on people and trying to uh, disassemble everything that has allowed me to thrive and allowed our country to thrive, allowed the Western countries to thrive. Like there's a real effort coming from deep within to undo that. And uh, uh, well, this is something. There's something that's made me think about this more. I'm glad you brought it up because I was really thinking about that. Because I mean, if you'd asked me, and you did ask me, we talked about it 6 months ago. Is there this, you know, force in the White House that's in cahoots to undo America? And because it feels that way. If and it's like I would have said absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. Like there's this force in there. But since the election, and since Biden was forced out and put on the side uh, for Kamala Harris, and then she loses. Uh, Kind of watching the way that the Biden camp now treats everybody else. They kind of give everyone else
Yeah.
the middle finger, like F you. We're going to ride off into the sunset because I think everybody would love it if there's talking. Well, Biden needs to step down and let Kamala be the president for a few months so she can be the first woman president and blah 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 blah. And that dude's not going to do that. His wife's not going to do that. So
Oh,
then you
God,
start
no.
seeing the individual. You realize it's like maybe it's not this big force. Maybe it's just a bunch of selfish people who are doing things in their best interest, and that as a conglomerate, as a whole, looks like
Well, yeah.
this dark force that's pressing down, right? It looks like everyone at the top is all in cahoots, and there's this cabal of evil, and it is all completely organized to overthrow free speech, to overthrow our representative republic, to overthrow everything. But then you realize it's possibly, that brought to light for me. It's like, no, man, these are all pockets of individual people who all just have their own interest in mind, their own pocketbooks in mind, whatever it takes. And if there are enough of people like that at the top who are just looking for angles and ways to take and remove and steal and cheat to get what they want, it makes it look like everyone at the top is orchestrating this thing when maybe they're not. Maybe it's just, you know,
Right.
uh, uh, it's the same. You could reverse it. You could say the same thing with good. If you looked at all of the people in the world who are trying to do good in their own way, as a whole, that looks like a movement of good. It looks like a movement of positivity and light, right?
Yes.
But when if you took that pool of people who are all doing good, one person is working with the homeless, another person is helping pets, another person is dealing with cancer patients, another person is funding uh, 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 funding church work. Another person is doing volunteer work to help people clean up after a disaster. And you take all of this. They each individually have their own thing they're doing. For their own because it helps them, right? So you'd say maybe it's not for their best interest, but it's what makes them tick. Like my brother-in-law loves working with homeless and helping the homeless. I would choose to work with, pet shelters and pet rescues. Like that's just what makes me tick. Uh, and he's super passionate about that. And if I did, I would be super passionate. Worked with rescues in the past, but I would
Yeah.
be super. But we don't meet each other. I mean, technically we do. I'm just saying, I'm using this as an
Correct.
example. Technically, I don't dip into the homeless, helping the homeless, and he doesn't dip into this, but we're all this force for good. We're doing what makes us feel good. But yet, if you look at it as a whole, it looks like this welling up of goodness. So the same thing I think is happening from from the with the evil that we see at the top. It's interesting how I'm saying the top is the evil and the bottom is the goodness. But there's this force at the top that feels like it's just picking apart everything, whether that's Russia or the Democrats or the Republicans or the Illuminati or
Yeah.
and look, I'm not saying that there aren't people, like Davos and World Economic Forum who don't meet and talk about how to sway humanity around. They absolutely 1000% meet to talk about how to use their money to get their agendas through, to get through what they want. That's so there are people like that and groups like that, but I think that at the end of the day, rather than having this giant megalith uh, uh, world government that's, has 12 individuals that are in charge, and they all have this common goal for world domination and all. I'm not sure, man. Like, you look at, like I said, that watching the Bidens right now really makes me, not that I think Joe Biden's a super powerful dude, but that's kind of my point, is he's not. He's an old, frail old man, and but yet he still has enough uh people in his camp that he put around him when he was of sound mind, and was
Right.
he's a pretty evil dude too. Not a very nice dude. If you really care to go back and look at some of
Yeah,
the
of
things he
course.
said and past, and the way he was sexually assaulted and molested and whatever.
Yep.
But he's still got enough power around him that one little pocket is now going F you to everybody around us. I'm not part of this thing. I'm out for myself. And so Kamala Harris is out for herself. The Obamas are out for themselves. The Trumps are out for themselves. The
Clintons are out for
the Clintons are out for
themselves. The
themselves.
Bushes are out
The
for
the
themselves. Yeah.
Bushes are out for themselves. The Cheneys are out for themselves. All of these people that we think are kind of in this. Now, I'm not saying they won't join forces to get common things through that they want through for their own personal interest. They don't give a crap about world governments, man. They care about money for their family and money for them, power for them. Let's start this war so that Halliburton can make a bunch of money. Why do you think the Cheneys all of a sudden, Dick Cheney and his daughter are in cahoots with the Democrats?
Of
Because the
course.
Democrats want a war,
They're
and the
warmongers.
Cheneys are warmongers. All of a sudden, they're all hanging out together.
I was
It's it,
laughing
it
at someone the other day. It was like it went from Green Day hating Bush and Cheney to Green Day doing events for the Cheneys and the Democrat Party for a
Yeah.
war.
Oh yeah, for sure. But that's what happens, man. Like we've talked about it before, man. One of my favorite bands of all time, Rage Against the Machine. It's just like, you know, you realize that they're not for what they sang about being for. They are for a party that represented those things.
Yes.
And when the power to the people switches to another party, that's a problem, you know? So it's an interesting time to be alive, man. It's an
So,
interesting thing.
okay, serious question here. If you had a group of 100 people and one person at the end was a supreme leader of light, positivity, good, and the other side was the supreme leader of evil, dark, whatever, and you have 100 people who have no idea what good or bad is really, say they're just fucking just created, right? Would you think as a society those 100 people would gravitate towards good or evil? Like what's easier to fall, be a good person or be a bad person?
I think it has to do with where you are in life, what you've experienced, and what you know, what your wisdom level is. Because, it's much easier to take a bunch of, 20-year-olds and throw them in there, and they're going to gravitate toward evil. Now, let me explain that, because uh, Jacoby and I had an interesting conversation one time about the devil, about Satan, and that his name translated literally means bringer of light. And uh and I don't know which name. I don't know if it's Satan or Lucifer. I don't know which one, but there was a translation means bringer of light. And it was kind of confusing. We were trying to parse that out. And what I came up with, I'm not saying I'm right, but what I came up with was, well, that's exactly right. Like, bringer of light, bringer of shiny things, like bringer of money and power and fame, and like perceived light. Like, I will bring you, like follow me and you can have all of this.
Yeah.
This will all be yours, you know? And man, for a 20-year-old, that's it. I mean, for me at 20 years old, I'm not saying but unbeknownst to you, evil's not going, hey, I'm evil over here. I'm evil and you need to follow me because evil is good. No, evil goes, I'm not evil. I am peace loving, I'll give you everything you want. I'm loving. I'm giving you the things that you desire. I'm giving you money. I'm giving you fame. I'm giving you power. I'm giving you sex. I'm giving you, all the girls, all the boys, all the whatever you want. And, you know, you don't have to do anything for it. This is just what I'm offering you. And then you go down that road and you get into it, and if you're not if you don't have the compass, moral compass, emotional compass, whatever it is, to come up for air, then you're done for, and you just become a part of that machine of evil. Um, and look, I mean, I did, I had my rocky road with things, and I was able to to come up for air and I had one extreme moment of clarity and many other
Yeah.
sprinklings of clarity that happened that pulled me out of it. Um, and you realize what a lie all that stuff is. So if you had a group of 100 people and let's just say that they were split evenly, like half of them were young, half of them were old and experienced, you're going to have some wise younger people who either dip their toe into it and realize, no, I see what this is, and come back the other way, or they're going to be, they're not, they're going to choose not to go that road. Uh, and then you're going to have, I'd say it'd be even, man. Because you have people that have lived a life and they still are, are chasing the wrong things and living the wrong lives. And then there are other people who've you have to have gone through it to understand it. And the people who've gone through it would go with the good for sure. The people who have not gone through it, I guess that's it. It comes down to that.
Yeah.
If you have some experience with evil, you probably won't do that. It's just man, it just astonishes me, man, just to see uh it's societal. It's also biological. These people who are just so wrapped up in wanting stuff and wanting money and wanting uh it's all about money. It's all about power. It's all about like and I guess and I've said this before, it's just like I am blessed enough and you're blessed enough to have lived a life where we've been successful enough to realize that that stuff is a lie. Like it's all a lie.
Yeah, for sure.
And um is there comfort in money? Yes, there's comfort in money. We've talked about this before. There's comfort in but comfortable is easily attainable by everybody and they just don't realize it. Like you go past comfort and then it becomes a nuisance and a problem in certain ways. It can become a problem in certain ways. It's why I have this thing where I'm like, I want to die with no money. And that sounds really kind of ridiculous. Like I'm going to go out and spend all of it and but that's not what I mean. Like I want to help people and you know, I
Yeah.
kind of gauge things. Like I like helping people. I like I won't say giving it away, but in essence, sometimes that's what it is. Calculate in a calculated way to where I don't get myself into a problem or something, but
No, but like, why go
uh
to your grave
yeah,
having
like
not done enough much as you could to help others?
yeah, dude, nothing makes me feel better than helping my friends out or helping out a stranger who needs it or something like that. That's what that stuff is for. That's what money is for. Whereas is people who are chasing it for wealth. Well, not for wealth. Wealth, see, I take that back. That is wealth. Wealth is when you can help others with it. There are people who are chasing riches and fame and all of these things. And it's like, man, it's just not real. Like it's not a real place. It's not a real thing. Like yeah, you can get it and you can attain it and you just can never get enough of it. And uh, it, yeah, it's just false. So that's the devil. That's evil. That's the bringer of light. I'm bringing and not, uh, uh, sorry, bringer of light, not the light, bringer of light. And that is light, not the light, right? So it's evil does not look like evil. Evil always looks like the most beautiful, good thing you've ever seen,
Right.
you
I just
know?
can't. Well, I think this would be a cool like short story idea where it's like this person during the day is like an actually righteous person, like helps people, does all this stuff, but at night maybe they have like ADHD or like a split personality disorder. Then at night they actually become like the exact opposite. But
Hmm.
like they don't realize they're chasing each other this whole time in terms of like it's almost like when you look at Batman when he's like Bruce Wayne, philanthropist, face of a company, like just doing all he can, but at night he actually has to go into a dark place to actually do the dirty work. The only way to do the dirty work is go into that dark place.
Yeah.
It's such a unique thing, the
Well,
idea of light.
that's art. We've talked about that too, man.
Yeah.
Like I can't really. make great art unless I go to a dark place. It's kind of why I look like I look right now. Like I'm making art right now, and it's about to not stop because I'm about to write music and still have to do videos, and like I have to fall apart to make art. And that's not evil though, but it's like it's dark. It's the darkness. Like you have to sort of walk the line of darkness, internal darkness a bit to make art. Kind of like Batman, I guess, in a way. But
Yeah.
you can't go all the way over.
But what's too far, you think, for art? How
Uh,
dark dark is too dark for art?
uh,
I mean, I'm not talking like those. I mean, I've
well, yeah, barring anything, like you can't.
you're not gonna put a
I,
gun in your mouth, pull a trigger, like your black splatter paints like a canvas.
well, it's the last thing I'll paint for
That's
sure.
that's the last album cover I'm doing.
Uh, but I mean, no, you can't. I mean, some people have gone that far though.
Yeah,
That's
but
the thing,
that's
man.
what I'm saying. Like, how far is too dark for art,
Um,
or
I
just
well,
going too far?
I think that honestly, man, it's like if I always put the caveat for me about anything is what are your responsibilities and what are your values? Um, you know, like I can't go so far in art that I adversely, like really adversely affect my marriage or my wife. If I had children, I can't do anything that's going to adversely affect my
Correct.
children.
Yeah.
Those being the first couple of things. Now, I have adversely affected my wife, and I continue to adversely affect my wife, I believe, just by when I get into these modes of being creative. Like
Yeah.
but it's not intentional. Like, and I guess it wouldn't be. This is a difficult question. It wouldn't be. It's not intentional. I think adversely affecting means
Doing something just for this, just to,
permanent damage,
yeah.
right? Like there's gonna be damage. Like the thing that a lot of people don't understand is like, oh, I wish I could date a rock star. I wish I was married to an actor, or I wish I was, you know, do you? Because like I feel like you could talk to my wife, or you could talk to Zach's wife or Barry's wife, or any other woman or man who is
Anyone
married
that
to someone
tours, it's hard
in a
enough for me to
band.
maintain. Yeah.
But the emotional, like I literally fall apart. Like I'm getting in, I can feel it happening already. Like when I make a record, like I'm not fun to be around. I'm dark, I'm brooding, I'm moody, I'm uh and it's just I don't do it on purpose. It's not like I'm proving a point. And doing these videos has been the same thing. Like I slink away into my hole and I, you know, set myself on fire and do the work, and then it'll take me 2 months to come out of that once it's done to get back to like feeling some sort of normal. Um, does my wife enjoy that? No, probably not, man. She doesn't. She rarely says anything, but occasionally she will, and she'll kind of snap me out of it for a second.
Yeah. But she
Um,
understands. I assume she would understand. She understands obviously why you're doing what you're doing.
yeah. And it's strange, man. It's not like I don't do it on purpose. I don't do it to prove a point. There are some people that, and I get this strange joy out of it, not out of the feeling. The feeling sucks, but like the joy of making something. Um, there are moments of excitement and elation, but most of it is really emotionally difficult and mentally difficult. And I know people that don't have to go through that at all, that make great music and make
Right.
great art. This is just me. So, um, uh, you do have to kind of, there is darkness involved for me with it, and um, maybe it's why I make a lot of stuff by myself because I don't have time to try to explain it to people why I'm the way I am, why I feel the way I am, why I feel like I'm the way I am, and why I'm difficult to deal with when it comes to making things. I Dude, I just went through this with these movies, man. Like not movies, videos. Feels like a movie. Um, I'm not used to working with other people. And so I
Especially
had
people you
to,
don't know too, right? Like these are just
yeah,
people you really don't.
but I had to remind myself occasionally that like these people aren't built like you, man. Like none of them, I think there were two or three people on the video shoot that were put together the way I'm put together.
Yeah.
The rest of them, not at all. They worked hard. Like everybody worked hard, but like there's a level of work that work ethic and mental grind that you have to be willing to put yourself through to make great things. And there was it was obvious to me that there were individuals that didn't have that. Because like we'd get to hour 8 of working and they'd be starting to get ornery and cranky about the hours and blah 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 blah. And like I wasn't in a place to do it, but I wanted to just like if I wish I had been in a place to go, hey man, if you don't want to fucking be here, go home. Just go home, leave, go away. Like because I am in this thing until like I will dig for hours and hours and hours and hours, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not like these people aren't getting paid, you know, overtime and everything else when we went overtime, you know. Uh, there's just a level of I have a certain level of I don't know what my limit is. I don't. I've never found it. I've never found I've gotten close. I've gotten very, very close to my limit of like and it gets really dark. And that's what I think that's what I'm getting at is like there is a line that like you have to walk up to that edge and then decide do I need to pull back or do I keep going right now?
Well, the
Uh
last couple of years, you've been your father, your sister-in-law, people in your life that have like passed away and stuff like that. How much does that weigh on what you're trying to do, or does it help actually push you further into the dark?
well I mean I went through that period of like we talked about it I think about having like that freeze response and not wanting to do anything.
Right.
Um that was super dark, man. That sucked because for me it's like don't creating is what brings me joy, but I was at a point where I couldn't create anything. Um now it's I think it's far enough behind me now to where it's I'm okay with that stuff now. I'm kind of back to me as far as like, you know, uh the thing is, man, is like the biggest thing that happens is I neglect myself. Like
Yeah.
when I get into those when I get into these places. And this is going to seem and again, you think you want to be like I just because you always hear people like I guess when I was younger, wish I was married to a rock star. I wish I could blah blah blah. And you think that's what you want, but I haven't had a shower in 6 days at this point. Not because, not because, and I'm sorry if that's gross, and it is gross actually. I haven't shaved. I haven't done anything. I've been wearing the same shirt, same pants. Um, not because I like being dirty, but because I'm so far in it that that's a distraction that I don't have time for. I don't have time for to think about bathing. Like I just want to go work. And so I wake up at before the sun's up some days and I just come straight out here and start working. And the next thing I know, it's 2:30 in the afternoon. I haven't eaten anything. And
Yeah.
I go inside and I gorge myself on peanuts or something, or on cashews. Like I'll eat so many peanuts to where I'm full. And then I'll come back out here and the next thing I know, I look up and it's 8 p.m. and I haven't seen my wife all day. She's texted me 30 times and I haven't answered any of them. Not because I don't love her, but because I'm so in the work. Um, and there's an obsessive thing about it, man, and it's not savory. Um, yeah, but and that's just normal work for me. That's not even insane work.
Yeah.
Like that's what I mean. Like when it starts when it starts pressing down on me, and then I'm feeling this darkness, and it's gotten really really bad before. Like super bad. So it's what is it? Kevin Hart said everybody wants to be famous, but nobody wants to do the work. And that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying famous. I'm using his quote as an example. Like everybody wants to be successful, but how many people really want to do what it takes to be successful? And I'm not. I am minimally successful. Like look at someone like Musk or you know uh that guy never sleeps, man. And I don't really
Yeah.
either. Like, you know, I can't imagine having well actually I take that back. I can imagine doing all the things he does. I don't have the knowledge to do what he does. But uh uh but that drive is real
No,
and
it's
and
awesome.
it is, man, but again, like I haven't worked out either. Like that's the thing. Like so I haven't bathed, I haven't worked out. I'm probably in the worst physical condition I've been in months, right now because I don't have time. I don't have time to do it. I've convinced myself that the only thing that matters is the work, and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I've taught myself in the last well, since we did this last, I taught myself how to do VFX, video effects. I never knew how to do it like the mind control video is the first thing I ever edited uh together. Uh I'm on the second video now, but it requires like special effects stuff. I just taught myself how to do it.
God
Like
bless, man.
but it's been like it's grueling, man. It's mentally grueling. Um but like that's what I'm willing to do for the work. It's like I don't trust anyone else enough to to help me out. I've learned in this process, man, that like that there are you know
I wonder if this would be
it
as painful if because there are deadlines to the art you're doing, right? Like there's
Mhm.
time, like you have certain dates, you have completion. So I get all that, but like
I'm
if
already I'm
you
already over those, by the way. Like I'm already
awesome.
past, yeah, my yeah.
So if you didn't have those type of obstacles in place, those time loops or whatever, do you think you would be feel better, at least mentally, physically? If this was just selfishly you were doing art for yourself, who cares? No timeline, it will get done.
Yes, 1,000%. It's right now, dude, I'm just feeling crushed by things I think things that are looming and I have to do and I don't have enough time in the day. I try to do everything myself. So it's like something that would take, normally, and I have learned this about video making and is everyone's got a specialty job. So, yes, it takes
Yeah.
time. It takes time, but like you have, honestly, man, I'm doing, and this is not me just bragging to brag. Like it's very true. I'm doing the work of about 15 people right now, but I'm doing it all myself. Like I'm doing all the sound, I'm doing all of the editing, I'm doing all of the VFX, I'm doing, and it's like, and each one of those things has a specialty thing in it, you know, that I'm taking care of. So, and then I have my very patient bandmates who are like, hey, we need to work on this record. So now I have to work on, now I've got to do two jobs where I'm doing the work of 15 people, uh, each, and yeah, man, if I didn't have that deadline looming, it'd be great. If I didn't have the deadline of like we have to start this record. I mean, dude, this caused me to wonder if I should be doing it, if I should just not do the record because it's like, and I don't know. We'll get into that at some point, but um I'm gonna try, you know.
Yeah.
Um and if I feel like I'm not doing my best work, then we'll have to do something else. But um yeah, man, it's dude, like Rim, my guitar tech,
Uh-huh.
has been trying to call me for 3 weeks. He's called me, he's texted me, he wants to talk about the guitar rig. The the last thing, the last thing on my mind is my guitar rig. Like I don't like. I almost feel like telling, look, dude, he's doing fucking awesome. He's like such a
It's not his fault he's that person.
no man. He's
Right,
doing
right,
such a great,
correct.
and he's being caring, and he's doing his job, and like
Yeah, yeah.
and I feel like a douchebag. And it's not that I don't care about it. It's just that right now it's like the eighth thing on my list of priorities. I'm almost like just buy me what buy just put together whatever rig you think sounds good. It's like if that's where we're at, I because my brain just I can't get off of this thing, you know. And dude, there's so much, like I said, so much neurodivergence and weirdness wrapped up in this whole package that you know, it's I don't like it, man. I wish I weren't this way. I don't want to be this way. I
But
want to be no, I want to I'm not that's not me being like trite, man. Like I'm equal parts. I wish I could pluck this thing out of me and just be a normal human being. Like just have a normal family life. Just be able to sleep at night without a voice in my head constantly chattering at me all night. Like to be able to just shut down and sleep. Like I don't know what that feels like. I I would love to work for 8 decent hours and then have time for my wife and like us go do things together. And I still make time, by the way. Like I don't just ignore her, but um but but it takes an effort for me to go, okay, I need to like we need to go get brunch or we need to like we need to get dinner, we need to hang out. Like it's like it I still have the pull of this thing all the time. It's not just like I can just be normal about things, you know? And it sucks, man. The amount of shit that people around me have to put up with, um, sucks. And but then at the same time, it's like if I didn't have all of this stuff and I didn't feel tired all the time and I wasn't, you know, banging my head against the wall all the time, I wouldn't be me. And so none of this stuff would exist. So, you know, it's just a double-edged sword. So I don't really want to get rid of it because of that, but like for the sake of the people around me and for my own sanity of like, dude, I can't describe to you, and there are people who know. It's not like I'm a
Yeah.
unicorn other people experience this for sure, but like how spun out and just absolutely unhinged inside I can get because something has gone wrong or it's not going the way I think it should go or um uh I have one like that deadline I was talking about of doing the record. Like somebody texted me something the other day and it spun me out. It was right before I went to bed and it spun me out so bad that like I got in bed and I didn't want anybody touching me and I was just like this in bed like I was having a complete and total meltdown. Like that's not that, and by the way, dude, it's not me being like a snowflake or something. Like it's just it's all internal. It's not like anybody ever sees it. I mean, I guess my wife sees it, but uh, it's just it's not easy is not. I was gonna say it's not an easy life. That easy is not a strong enough word. It's not a
Content,
it's just not something that I would wish on anybody else. If I would love to be able to get to be able to get results without that stuff eating at me like that and me being emotionally bound up and um feel like I'm feel like I'm being thrown around the room by myself, like not by myself alone, like me myself doing
yeah,
that to
you're fighting
myself, you
yourself
know?
all the time.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, man, it's super maddening, man. It's not good.
But like
But like
the reception you've gotten from that though, like hearing on the radio and people like comments and YouTube, like obviously this got to be some sort of like weight lifted off you because it's like that torment actually means something to someone else. It's helping them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But that's, I think we talked about this last time. Like, I feel like I'm here to, well, maybe we didn't talk about this last time. I've done a lot of interviews since I don't remember what I've told in interviews or what we've talked about. Um, but like, I feel like I am here and so are my other friends who are musicians and artists and you know we're here to help people. We're not here to it's not just about making music or making art or making writing books or writing poetry. It's about helping others at the same time. And so, I definitely feel like um that is at the end of the day, that's what the torment is about in a certain way. It's like, you know, I'm going to take whatever this thing that won't leave me alone, this evil voice in my, it's not evil, dark voice in my head, voices in my head that that like to torment me and turn it into something that'll help other people. And so again, we talked, I was positing, do I wish it weren't that I didn't have these things? And it's like, well, ultimately, when you look at all of it, man, it's like, and I'd rather have it, I think, because I know how to deal with it, or I know how to get through it. I don't know how to deal with it. Um, at least so far, I know how to get through it. Uh, Unfortunately, again, my wife has to be, and my bandmates,
Yeah, the shrapnel of it.
and my friends have to be party to it, and um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's probably necessary for me to do that stuff for sure. Because I'll go through phases, man, of like feeling okay, like when I'm not in, and then creating music doesn't seem to really happen in those times. Like it has to be. I have to be down in it.
Right.
So, I look, dude. I'm not a whiny bitch rock star. I promise. Like that's not what this is. This is just me being very real about what it feels like. And
Yeah.
like again, I don't go through my life like woe is me. You know, I just deal with it. And I have woe is me moments just like everybody else. But uh, um, this isn't me going, oh, my life's so terrible. It's just, no, this is just the reality of what creating things is like for me. Dude, it's the same thing with uh, the short story stuff. Just even writing a short story. It's like I wrote that short story that you've read. I wrote that the first, I wrote the first 95% of that in a day and a half and then spent a month and a half, 2 months writing the last little bit of it because I couldn't figure out how I wanted it to. And I'm still not super pleased with it, but my brain just it was like, no, this is not going to be this easy,
Right.
you know? And it's terrible for efficiency. It's like, it's why records take forever. It takes me forever to get records done. Um, it's, but anyway.
Yeah. What to change subjects wholeheartedly. The did you see that thing with the what's not UFO but UAP where the kind of like that spherical thing that landed on their runway and then
Yeah,
as soon
I
as they
said
approach it, it's shot back up into the air?
in Manchester.
Yeah,
So there's only one thing that is super interesting. Uh, th- there's only one thing, and I maybe I haven't seen it. There's no video of it shooting up into the air.
correct.
It's sitting on the tarmac, and then there's video of it up in the sky.
Yes.
Uh, and well, you guys, you know that I'm not
Yeah.
a that I believe in. There's one thing I hate. I hate a hoax, like because it just ruins everything. It's like I don't. I'm not. I like. Like that's the biggest thing for me, man, that in all of this like that I just despise is like people who are hoaxing something like it just ruins it for
Like
everybody
it's
because
like
because then
obviously
you have to parse out what's real and what's not. It's very compelling. Uh it seems like what's interesting to me is this. The sphere sitting on the ground looks like it was taken out of a window by a passenger.
yeah.
It looks like a passenger window. But then it up in the sky is obviously in the cockpit. The pilots are taking pictures of it up in the cockpit. I want to believe that was I mean, uh, I'll say this, it's very mechanical. So I would say that it doesn't look otherworldly to me. It looks like it's probably something, you know, because I've seen before um like silver spherical things during the day in the UK. Like they have video of them like going
Yeah.
going over going over farmers' fields and up and over hedgerows and this kind of thing. Uh, this looks sort of like a blue. It's not glowing. It's just like a bluish gray
Yeah.
sphere that's sitting about this high off of the tarmac, and it's just sitting there, not doing anything. And then the next thing you see is these pilots have their camera up like this, and it's up in the sky above the planes, just sitting there. It could be totally real. It just, the fact that no one thought to, the person that was filming it on the ground
Keep it going.
just didn't keep it going. And the pilots didn't see it. The passengers saw it sitting on the ground. The pilots didn't. Out of all the airplanes there were, I think there were like 4 or 5 airplanes in the queue to take
Correct.
off.
And we know how people are
And
always looking out their stupid windows. Like just
I don't know. It's just like it's a little weird to me. Uh, I'd be interested to see if someone can get a hold of the original video and like and analyze it and just see because it looks very real. It does look
I,
very real.
but I wonder.
It looks very mechanical. Uh, um, but again, man, like I'm looking at that jellyfish UFO footage, and I believe that's real for sure. So that could be a hoax too. So
It's like the
I just think
hoax
the
is
fact.
getting more insane, or are they getting us prepared for like the legit unveiling of hey, this stuff's been around? I mean, there's
Well,
been remember that report that came out a couple weeks ago with like they're in the ocean,
yeah.
so it's just
Well,
like
but everybody kind of knows that, right? Like I don't think that. Look, there's who was it that did the movie The Abyss? Who did that?
James Cameron.
James Cameron. James Cameron did Abyss. Uh, uh, Spielberg with Close Encounters in E.T.
Yep.
Who did Cocoon?
That's Spielberg too.
Okay, yeah. So look, man, there is n- Spielberg had that, and Cameron had that run of like alien
No,
movie
Ron
thing.
Howard did Cocoon.
Ron
Sorry.
Howard. Uh, there are reports that these directors were let in on certain secrets
And he did First Contact too, the Jodie
yeah,
Foster one.
by the government, like in the 80s, to say, hey, we're going to start disclosing this stuff, but we want to softly prepare people for it. So we want you to make some movies about this stuff. Um, and because if you notice, like Star Wars being the sensation that it is and was at the time, wasn't about aliens. It took place on a just in a distant galaxy, long time ago, way off. And other than, and again, I'm probably going to be wrong about this. Maybe the Black Hole, which was a Disney movie, was sort of the same thing that came after Star Wars. Everybody's ever seen the Black
Yeah,
Hole? I thought it was
it's a
pretty good
classic.
when I was a
Yeah.
kid, dude. I loved that
Yes.
movie. I had a black hole beach towel that had the Cygnus on it. Uh, anyway, Star Trek, same thing. But like after that stuff, the sci-fi stuff turned to more earthly aliens visiting Earth stuff, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and stayed there pretty much. I mean, even Transformers were about these robots that came from outer space and they were on Earth. Uh, and so, look, the conspiracy theories and there's some evidence that this took place. I've heard it in a couple of different places that the government, especially Spielberg, that the government told Spielberg about certain things and said, but we want you to make some movies about these things, or, so we can start softly rolling this thing out. And if you listen to people who are in the know or who have been in the know over the years, uh, uh, and I got a lot of the stuff from some of the interviews I watched on that Danny Jones podcast, that everyone's consensus is that their plan all along has been to actually have disclosure in 2025. And people have been saying that for years and years and years, like way back. So it's
Yeah.
interesting that like now these things are starting to happen, and possibly they are, yeah, man, some of this stuff might just be they're showing us technologies that they've had, meaning our government, that they know about.
Well, it seems like these
So
stuff is happening more like like being more mainstream. Before it was always like you had to go to like some obscure website, like, oh, here's the Travis, Travis, he gets sucked into the sky, fire in the sky,
yeah,
or now it's
yeah,
just like this stuff happening on a Tuesday and it's all over the world news outlets. So it's like, to your point, it does make sense why it's slowly letting people realize that we're just numb to it now.
yeah. Um, yeah, man, it's I don't know. I look, everybody knows that I believe there's something else going on. I believe that there's mechanical things that we have that we've engineered. I also believe that there are, you know, more spiritual, non-mechanical, biological um, types of things going on. And that's what I'm more interested in, is that stuff. Like I'm far less interested in seeing mechanical UFOs flying around than I am,
Yeah.
like I'm just not even interested in it anymore. Like it fascinates me to an extent, uh, but that to me seems more like human time travelers, that have gone back. There was an interesting podcast I listened to or watched recently about this guy who his whole thesis is that that craft UFOs basically are just time traveling humans from the future. And people are like, well, what about the grandfather paradox? You go back and you change time, and then you meet your grandfather and alter the history, and therefore you don't exist. Um, but there's something called and I'm going to get this. I believe it's the block universe or the block timeline, I think they call it. block universe. I could be wrong. I'm sorry, I'm not remembering it right. I think that's what it is, where um, it's basically everything. Like you can't do that. You can't screw up the timeline because it's not a line. It's a block of existence.
So the
So
block
so
universe theory, also known as eternalism, is the idea that the universe is a fixed block of space-time that
there
contains
we go.
every event that has ever happened, is happening, and will happen.
Yeah, so that. So like I mean that's a very Christian way of looking at things too. Like God has a plan and this is the way it's going to be. There is no real free will because uh it's already determined. And there's a lot of peace in that, by the way. Like when I talk about turning things over to God, like that's what the peace is in that. Not that I think that it's already figured out, but I think that like once you turn something over and you give up the worry of that, uh what's there to worry about at that point? Like it's gonna work itself out however it's supposed to be, whether that means failure or success. There's a purpose and a plan for it. So the block universe saying that yes, we eventually get to time travel and UFOs and things in the Bible and that stuff have all been not Jesus and stuff. I'm talking about like things in the sky and sky gods. These things that you hear about throughout time, gods coming down from the sky and stuff, are nothing but time travelers from the future. That would explain why they're so interested in keeping us from blowing ourselves up with nuclear weapons. Uh, uh, but yeah, so you could the if you take the block theory, you can go back in time because that's what was supposed to have happened all along anyway. Um, so that's interesting. You know, I find those nuts and bolts craft thing of UFOs just not that fascinating I don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility. It's like there's nothing mystical to me about that. Um, what I do find fascinating are these orbs and things like that
Yeah, the
that are
spiritual
like,
side of this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, like there's something else going on with that for sure. And we've talked about orbs and Bigfoot and orbs and all of this interesting stuff. Um, and beings that come out of orbs or turn into orbs and like what is that about? Like
Yeah.
that's what I find more fascinating.
Yeah.
That's actually terrifying to me.
And maybe
And
the part of the part of this UFO declassification is to like now people are coming aware to the spiritual side of things, but we have to give them the physical alien idea just to
Mhm.
get them off the trail
Well,
because
that's what Greer says, right?
yeah,
Yeah, Dr. Greer talks about that. He talks about how the gray aliens are just these sort of you know robotic. They call them robots, which people are like, come on, that's ridiculous. But if you think about the way technology could go, or what our government probably has that we don't know about, you could probably create autonomous beings like that that can that aren't real, that aren't what's the right aren't really biological, I guess.
right.
Uh, but yeah, we're being shown these mechanical things to make it like Independence Day movie. If you look up Project Bluebeam,
Oh yeah,
is the theory that
that's
our
coming.
government's gonna stage
Well, that's what they
a
said
a,
happened in Miami
a
earlier in the
false
year.
flag UFO.
Yeah,
And oh, dude, I was gonna talk to you about the Miami thing, man.
I
Like I glazed over the Miami
dude,
Mall
it's
incident
wild.
when it happened. I just glazed over it. I'm like, there's no like, but like
That
the more you dig into that,
and the
there
reports, the gunfire, and what they saw, these 8 foot, 9 foot tall gray beings and
there's no
lights.
there's no body cam footage from any of it. There's no police cruiser footage from it
Right. No, even the 9/11 call is reports of
of beings like
yes,
8 or 9 foot tall things, and like people are talking about portals opening up and these. And so basically, what people have described seeing in that mall. But by
power
the way,
shut off everywhere, no cell phones. Dan Bonago, like all these like predominant. I mean, whether you agree or not with them, but like they're talking about this in real time, going, dude, this is wild.
yeah, so like something like 90 cop cars showed up,
Yes,
90 police officers showed up at this mall in
for a
Miami. This is
prank with a
yeah,
bunch of kids.
yeah, fireworks prank, right? Now that could make sense because if they think it's an active shooter or something,
That's
that
still a
could
lot
make
of cars.
that could make sense. So I'm not, but what people are saying that the eyewitness description, no one has cell phone footage.
No.
There's no cell phone footage anywhere of anything going on in this mall, like nothing. So people have like think you're in a mall in Miami. How many people are in there who have cell phones,
You can't go to a Shinedown show without the whole show being on video camera.
who could have filmed everything? There are 90 cop cars outside. No one has film footage of any of this.
Yeah.
But the eyewitnesses describe that there were these 8 or 9 foot tall gray beings running around the mall, and then a portal opened up. These men in military outfits came out of the portal, rounded up these 8 or 9 foot things, and went back in the portal, and the portal disappeared. That's what they're describing that happened in the mall. That's pretty wild. That doesn't sound like Blue Beam to me. That sounds like, the aliens escaped the lab kind
A
of
time
thing.
rift. Yeah, like
Yeah.
a rift in
So,
the
but dude, I mean, it's nuts. Like if you really want a rabbit hole to go down the Miami
the Bayside Mall.
Bayside, yeah, because it's
Well, then they have the one footage they have. I think it was CCTV footage. Like they're by a fountain outside, and you see like this big kind of like figure kind of like skimper out. I mean,
but
you,
yeah, I don't know about that. Like I haven't seen that. Maybe that's real, but like the fact that there's no footage, like if you have something going on in a mall that 90 cop cars show up, somebody's filming something inside the mall.
how come like to your point?
But by the way, one thing I forgot to say was that the people who are the eyewitnesses did describe that that time froze inside of this mall. Like that like for some people, like there were some people that were just frozen, like
Yeah,
in like whatever motion they were in. It's very interesting, man. This takes me to like have you seen the thing about the guy on the guy who took DMT and then looked at a laser beam against a wall and he saw computer code inside of the laser beam?
no.
So, and this is another rabbit hole to go down, but this is like what I'm talking. I guess what I'm getting at with the alien thing in the mall is like, you know, what is reality? Like a portal opening up, and or like, is that someone entering the Matrix and coming back? Like we're in the Matrix, and like that's just them coming from, we're in this giant Truman show, you know, um, which, I mean, dude, at this point, I think anything's possible. Uh, but so this guy, I forget his name. Uh, but you can find him on Danny Jones' podcast, by the way. He flashed a laser beam up against a wall. I guess like one of these leveling laser beams, like a red laser beam on a wall, and then looked kind of down the line like this, and he swore he saw like Matrix type computer code, like doing this. And he started drawing out what he saw in the shapes. So then he had other friends of his. He didn't tell them what he saw. He just said, try it. So they took DMT, did the same thing, and they described seeing the exact same thing. Like I see computer code.
Is that why they classify that drug as so like
Dude, that drug, you could legally buy that drug up until like 2008. Like you could just order it online.
right? But so
Yeah.
I wonder why. I mean, if it would make sense why they'd want to protect it.
Well, because some people posit that DMT is like it breaks down the barrier between whatever our reality is and what actual reality is. It's
It's
why
just
people who
not.
go on DMT trips see and describe the same things. They describe the same beings. They describe seeing the same things. They describe going to the same places, the same experience. It seems to be uh, a very objective experience. Like people are experiencing the same thing. Uh, and people who do it, because from my understanding, if you take one hit of DMT, the world kind of crystallizes around you and like turns into this kind of fractal looking. Uh, you smoke it. You smoke DMT. It's a very instantaneous thing, and it doesn't last very long. But the world fractalizes, it just kind of turns into crystal fractals. Like it kind of breaks down the
Yeah,
smoothness of the surfaces around you, like almost like it's breaking down reality. If you take a second hit of it, you feel like you're launched into space. Like you feel like you're pushed back in your seat and your face is,
yeah, your
you know,
Bach, whatever.
yeah. And then if you can manage to take a third hit, then you graduate into this other dimension, into this other reality, and that you are sure that you've died. You're sure you're dead. You're also sure you've been to this place before. You're
Oh,
sure you've been to this place before thousands of times. Um, and then you see these beings and creatures, and they're telling you things and showing you things, and again, this is just my understanding. I've done a lot of reading on it and a lot of listening about it. So, um,
well,
probably wanting to try it at some point.
yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
but and then 10 minutes later, you're back, and there's no hangover, there's no nothing. You're just snapped out of it instantaneously. You're just sucked back into reality.
I
Uh,
wonder because like
so, so that being said, people seeing computer code in laser beams and light, you know, uh, is very interesting. And the fact that all these people, this guy shot like sort of a documentary about it, and like all these people were seeing the same thing, only on DMT though. Um, which again, if it's something that if it's a molecule that breaks down, like what if reality is chemical? What if our
yeah,
reality is chemical based rather than like something else? And that molecule, it's
I've
uh
heard
M
ayahuasca does the
MAO
same type of thing too.
well, ayahuasca is the same molecule.
Yeah.
It's the DMT molecule. MAO something, MAO5,
So like
MAO4.
culturally,
I
like
don't know.
before all that stuff, like ayahuasca, the history of that, like in the indigenous people and stuff, there was no like we look at now, it's like the human brain has been explored by what, like some small tiny fraction, right? It kind of
Yep.
makes me wonder that maybe they actually understand how the brain is, but we are born, and I mean, not to get conspiracy theory, but what if there is a shot we get as a child that kind of curbs how far our mind can expand, and this type of
Oh, this
DMT or stuff is allows us to access. If we all had that type of mind, the world would be amazing, right?
what's interesting, what you just said, the fact that um scientists who study the mind of people on DMT,
Yeah,
and this is how they criticize it, or they put it down basically, is when they study the brains of people who are on DMT, when they're actively on DMT, their brains become childlike. That's what they use. That's the term they use, is that their brains become like the brain of a child. And that's the way of saying, hi, you just turn into children. That's why you see all
yeah.
these things. But think about this, man. Like if you
You're
and,
born with a
and
free brain.
again, like, dude, I saw uh,
Interesting.
I've always been fascinated by the fact that any kind of reincarnation stories that you hear about, it's always kids remembering some past life, but the older they get, they forget it.
Yeah.
Um, I saw an Instagram reel of a child being shown. The mother said, she's like, I've always wondered if my kid was my grandmother reincarnated. And she showed her a picture of her grandmother at a young age, and the baby's just fascinated by this picture and is like touching her own face and like pointing and she goes, it's me, like this. You know, you you wonder what we forget, or what we're whether naturally or not, you know. And so it's interesting that you say that it talked about being a child, like the fact that that's how they describe the brain of someone on DMT, is they become a child.
Yeah.
Well, that, to me, that's the first thing I thought about when I heard that. It was like, it opens you up. You're opened up to possibilities. We get so shut down. This is the Neil deGrasse Tyson thing. You get so shut down to any other possibility
I hate that
that
guy.
that you can't that you bottle your own farts and sniff them professionally, you know. And who knows, man? Like, I don't know. You don't know. Neil deGrasse Tyson certainly doesn't know. He knows math. That's what he
Correct.
knows. He knows math. He knows mathematics. Congratulations. You know mathematics. Um,
Do you see the episode where he was on Bill Bauer, and Bill pushed back on him saying, maybe you're the reason, like he basically called him out on his bullshit about like the pandemic, the election, like all his way of like how his analytical approach to what happened is so far out there out of the loop. He goes, that's the reason why you people lost.
yeah.
Because he's so like it was kind of surreal because
Well,
you know
politics breaks people's brains. Like someone like
it's
Sam
wild.
Harris. Sam Harris, who I think he's obviously a legitimate genius.
Correct.
Like, Donald Trump broke his brain. Like, and I say Donald Trump because he was sort of the linchpin
Correct.
that threw people over the edge. Like, and I'm not saying Donald Trump's absolutely right, or the greatest. That's not my point. But like when he came along and he entered the political sphere, he broke people's brains. And so these people that get so rigid in their thinking that something as like you're just something your thinking is so rigid, the way that you're so married to your ideas that someone like Donald Trump spins you out and
Right.
makes you sound like a lunatic, even though you're a genius.
Right. Like
Neil
why do
deGrasse Tyson.
politics?
Neil deGrasse
Yeah.
Tyson is. I would say he has genius qualities, right? Sam Harris, obviously a genius. Um,
Lex Friedman.
Lex Friedman, but Lex Friedman is not married to his ideas.
Correct.
Lex Friedman has a brain that is malleable and wants to learn and constantly soaking things up. That's the difference. So when you talk about DMT or we talk about some of these people can't will for all of their genius they don't have they have locked out their capacity to think any other way but one way. And so again, you get a disruptor like a Donald Trump or to a disruptor like DMT, a disruptor that comes into someone's world and goes, yes, but, or what if? They can't think in those terms anymore because they've been
Right.
taught one way and this is I'm married to my ideas. This is how the
Like
universe is. I've made up this thing in my brain that I've got it all figured out and no one can tell me any differently. Uh, whether that's politically or scientifically or spiritually or whatever. Um,
like Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan came up with this whole idea. Whether I
just
don't know
like
enough about it, but
right,
then Neil
just like
deGrasse comes out and says that's not possible because of numbers. What if Terrence or people like that were doing DMT and that's how they came to that? Like it does,
I
we can't understand that.
I think Terrence probably has some validity to what he's talking about. Even though Eric Weinstein,
Yeah,
actually have a lot of respect for, went on Joe Rogan with Terrence Howard and explained to him why he was wrong
but also
mathematically.
allowed him to be like the fact you had the balls to even talk about this.
Yeah.
Howard is awesome.
Yeah, but here's the thing. It's like I'm still not convinced that Eric Weinstein is 100% correct and Terrence Howard is 100% correct. I think that there is some middle ground to
Yes.
to these esoteric ideas and these mathematical ideas. Like I'm not a mathematician, so I am way out of my league.
Ugh,
I'm way out of my
what a boring job.
way out of my. I wish I knew more about it, man. I really wish my brain worked that way. It doesn't. My brain is more of a Terrence Howard brain, but then not as complex as his brain is either, because I that guy is obviously a genius as well. Um, but uh, I just feel like that mathematicians are searching for a solution all the time, a solution to a problem, and they get a solution to a problem, and that's all they need to know. Look, it says it right here on the paper that x plus y equals z, and that's my solution, and that's what it is. Um, but what mathematicians I think often forget is that x plus y equals z. Well, x and y are variables. Like you can plug anything in as x or y. There, I don't know, man. It just feels like there are so many.
Like imagine if you did
There, there,
DMT
there, there are
and
there are so many variables in the universe that you can't just have. Mathematics can't explain it all. Mathematics can expose the lattice work of
yeah, like the
some of
bones, maybe
reality.
some of like the structure of stuff.
Yeah, but
Well, they always say numbers don't lie, but can they?
well, what if you don't understand all the numbers? So I'll
Right.
go back to Eric Weinstein again. Eric Weinstein is also the one who there's a Joe Rogan episode you can look up where Eric Weinstein is talking about octonians. Octonians are these numbers that he said that including himself, there are only probably four people in the world who know enough about the octonian numbers to even explain it in minute detail, and even they don't understand it. So
So it could
they
all be
so so
bullshit though.
so so in mathematics they've discovered these numbers called octonians, and there are only four or five people that understand what it even means, and in that is a whole other world of math that we don't even know about, that we can't even, that our brains can't process enough to break into and figure out. And yet you're going to tell me that because X plus Y equals Z on the paper uh, explains everything out of one side of your mouth. That's Eric Weinstein, who I respect. And again, he knows way more than I do. I'm just freewheeling right now. Out of one side of your mouth, you're going to tell me X plus Y equals Z, and that's why Terrence Howard is wrong. And on the other side of your mouth, you're going to tell me there's this whole other set of numbers, equations, things that we can't even wrap our brains around that open up a whole other realm of mathematics. You can't have it both ways
Right.
because this whole other realm of mathematics could completely undo your X plus Y equals Z
Yeah.
over here. And maybe that's what Terrence Howard is talking about. Is has Maybe Terrence Howard has opened up the Octonian box over here
Right.
without even knowing he opened up the Octonian box, without even you knowing he's opened up the Octonian box, and you're going to tell him he's wrong.
Right.
That's the problem. That's the problem with science. That's the problem with these rigid thinkers, and that's why I'm more interested in in orbs with beings in them, biological things we can't explain, and DMT beings and computer code and laser beams than I am in listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson go on and on and on about how he's got it all figured out and mechanical craft and blah 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 blah. He doesn't. By the way, he doesn't believe in any of that stuff. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of those idiots that says, "I'll believe in this stuff when aliens land on the White House lawn." Literally, what comes out of his mouth.
Yeah. It's
Like
just,
he's such a blowhard, dude.
it's, he's like a
He's smart.
gatekeeper for
He's
science and change and like cool stuff happening. Like,
the
shut the
second
fuck up.
the second that somebody gets a TV show,
Oh,
I
he's
just stop listening to him. Just stop listening to him. Like the second that's what Carl Sagan, man. Everybody talks about how brilliant Sagan was. Yeah, he's brilliant to a point, but he was so fucking
pompous and
self-righteous.
douchey.
Yeah, I've got it all right, and you've got it all wrong. It's like fuck off, man.
Yeah.
Seriously, you're way smarter than me. Tyson is way smarter than me. He is a brilliant brain, but he's so brilliant that he's a dumb fuck. You know, he's
Yeah.
so brilliant. He's so brilliant that he's forgotten how to have any sort of wonder in his life at all. And
Yeah.
wonder is what has driven us to this point, not science.
It's almost
Scientists
like
want to,
he's happy being labeled that, and he stopped his whole trajectory of like exploration and learning and science.
yeah.
It's like once you become that level, do you just like why would you stop?
Well, I don't think he ever had the capacity to continue.
He was just
Like
pigeonholed to be
No,
that guy.
I think that he's obviously charismatic. He's obviously got a good personality.
Great talker, great orator.
He obviously found his fame. He's after fame. He found his fame in these numbers and in these equations. And if those numbers and equations go away, he loses his fame. That's it. That's the way he sees it, probably. And or if they're wrong, or if he's wrong. So he has to be rigidly correct at all times. And he has to be the smartest person in the room. That's the other thing about it is these people think that they're the smartest person in the room. Uh, while on paper and while in their field, yes, perhaps the smartest person in the room. But that doesn't make you the smartest person in the room. It's why these people get exposed when they go on to a show like Joe Rogan. I'm I like Joe Rogan. I listen to him once a month, maybe. You know, I used to listen a lot more than I do now. Um, but he's a really smart person, and he's really open to ideas being different. And he'll challenge your ideas, but he wants you to challenge his ideas too.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be the smartest person in the room. That person is going to be the smartest person in the room because they have the capacity for other ideas.
To listen, to understand.
They have the capacity for ideas that they didn't think about, or they have the capacity to have someone's ideas come along and undo their ideas and eject the old idea, insert the new idea. And that's difficult, by the way. Like, I wanted to hear Eric Weinstein go on Joe Rogan with Terrence Howard and say, Terrence Howard, you are a genius because I believe everything you've said, and this is amazing. That's not what he did. He was very cool about it. Um, but uh, and again, man, I just think that what I was a bit disappointed that Weinstein wouldn't at all look at
Very dismissive, it felt
And
like
well,
at
no,
some
but
point.
he did steal man. Here's the thing. He did steal man Terrence Howard's stuff. He went into it first of all saying, let me lay out what I think you're trying to say, and from Terrence Howard's perspective. So he didn't just go in and say you're an idiot. He went in and said, I think what you're trying to say is that this is this and this is this and this is this. That's called steel manning. You build up someone else's argument so then you can properly disassemble it because you don't agree with it. It's a really smart way of doing things. A straw man argument is just accusing somebody of something and tearing that thing apart, burning the straw man, and that's a bad way to win an argument or to get your point across. But he steel manned his stuff. It's not. I'm not saying he didn't take it into account. I'm just saying, what if, what if someone like Terrence Howard does have it figured out,
Yeah.
and no one can see it yet because history is littered with that, with the Teslas and the Galileos and you know, brilliant minds who were dismissed because no one else
Musk.
could because no one else could see it.
Right.
And then later we go, oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
were wrong, because people are so tied up in what we know, quote unquote. We know this. Every time that I'm watching, I almost can't watch History Channel anymore or Discovery Channel, especially Discovery Channel.
That's all the
We
same.
because it's you hear these signs. We know that this is this, and we know that that is that, and we know that this is this. No, you theorize that that is what it is. You have no like we know that this planet that's 18 billion light years away is its atmosphere is made up of hydrogen, oxygen, and helium, and it's like, well, you looked at you sort of got light to shine through the atmosphere and you saw these certain colors, so you're assuming that that's what that means, but you don't really know it. You haven't been there. You don't know for sure. But scientists are so quick to say we know this, and they don't know it. They can say we're pretty sure. Why don't you say we're pretty sure? We think we figured out that.
Right.
Not we know. Like it's very off-putting.
Do you think Einstein was do you think he'd be successful if today as he was back then? Because even now people are pushing back on the E equals MC squared and some of the other theories, which are fine, but like how who was his rival at that time? Were they eventually? Because it almost feels like they treated him like Neil deGrasse Tyson now,
Well,
where he's on such a pedestal.
there are there were a lot of other like Bohr and oh God,
But
I have
why did
things
he
on the
get
spot.
like
I
all
can't
the
think of
iconic photographs, like the
because he looked like he did. He was an iconic figure. Like, dude, no one would know who Stephen Hawking is if he hadn't been in a wheelchair.
correct
Period.
or at
Like
Epstein Island? Yeah.
well, no, but I mean, we would talk about it, but no one would really know who he is. Like there are
Yeah, you're
uh
right.
uh
They look
yes,
apart.
right. Like you
Just
can yeah, big crazy hair, dynamic personality for his genius. Usually geniuses are
Hemingway, same way. Like these type of people,
so
they look
so
apart.
there is a physicist and someone can find this. I forget his name. He's still alive right now. Um uh I can almost remember his name. I'm making my own point right now. I'll, hang on a second. I'm going to look this up because I want to get this right. But he is considered the smartest man in the world. He's the most dangerous physicist in the world. Like he knows so much beyond what anyone. Weinstein's the one who brought his name up one time, and he's like, no one knows who this guy is. No one talks about him. He's the most brilliant mind we have. He knows he could unlock the secrets to the universe probably, and no one knows who he is. And that's my point. He's not a dynamic personality. He's
Right.
not in a wheelchair. This guy's leaps and bounds smarter than Hawking, but we don't know his name.
Better
Uh,
walker too.
probably. Hang on a second. Uh, I'm taking time.
I'm trying to think of other famous. Madame Curie was another one, right?
Yeah. I'm hoping this guy's name pops up.
Oppenheimer.
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 Yeah. No. See, dude, this is crazy. This is proving my point right now. I typed in most brilliant physicist in the world and Stephen Hawking pops up. That's the first thing that pops up.
God, he's not even.
And no, but I'm not saying but it's just I'm trying to remember this guy's name and I can't.
Can you describe
That's
him?
my point. That's my point
Right.
is like we roll out these people who
Literally.
yeah, let me see if I can find this uh yeah, these are all people you've this is throughout history.
Yep.
Yeah, not these people. All right. Well, again, I will hopefully man, let's see. Let me see if it's in this. Sorry. I know I'm taking all sorts of
No, I love it.
time here to try to figure this out. But it's important, man, because it's like these are people that we should yeah, it's not in that list either.
We don't know
But
the right
evidently this
people.
but evidently this guy knows like literally way more than anybody else and we don't know what his name is my point. Has he been
Yeah.
had now has this is this the guy that the government's had working on stuff and because they know and they roll all these other people out as like, you know, hey, these people does our government roll out
Yeah.
these physicists and scientists who support uh uh Newtonian physics and Einsteinian equations and ideas, knowing that they're wrong, but we make sure that they get the loudest voice so the people, all other scientists do all of their work off of that and going down the wrong path. And our government has kept these brilliant physicists to themselves who know that all that stuff is untrue, and they're the ones making these UFOs
Yeah. Beautiful
disappear,
distraction.
reappear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite theories that's been put out there, and I think that's what Weinstein was saying in that is that this guy has probably been, working for our government. Like you go back to, and we've talked about this before. The head of Lockheed Martin, when he was on his deathbed, said, or in an interview, famously said, "We found out that Einstein is wrong." And we've basically been doing all of our equations wrong. And then once we figured that out, we did equations a different way. All of a sudden, we've developed the ability to go to the stars. Anything that you see in science fiction, we either have or have had.
Yeah.
We have the ability to send ET home, is what he said. Right. Um, that was in the 80s. He said that, by the way. Uh, and
Which,
so,
look at all the movies.
so,
Yeah.
so again, someone like Tyson is Neil deGrasse Tyson seems tailor made for that job,
A
psyop,
distraction
a
to like get,
psyop
yeah.
job, right? Like he might even know. He might just get paid just to say that this stuff's true when he knows it's not. It kind of fits his personality. I don't know. It's interesting that we talked on this about there not being a big conspiracy theory at the top of everything, and we end it with there being a big conspiracy theory at the top
Hell
of
yeah.
everything. That's perfect. Let's call it on that.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome.
Peace.